So lately I've been seeing this hashtag on both Instagram and Twitter for the most part. I believe it's hashtag 2006 versus 2016, something like that, where it's supposed to be a comparison thing, like, oh, this is how it was 10 years ago, and this is how it looked like now, blah, blah, blah. And lately that's been used for a couple of things in the video game industry, this year in particular. So I want to talk about, when is it right to announce a game? Do you think that a new method of announcing games should be taken? I'm going to be quoting a Colin Moriarty. Some of you may have heard of him. Here he is in his all blissful glory. He's a guy from Kind of Funny with Greg Miller, guys from IGN who started their own thing. And recently I heard him say something that is very thought-provoking for us gamers. What if developers started to do something that Bethesda actually took a chance on, I think last year with Fallout 4, where they announced the game in the summer, I think at Comic-Con or E3, no, it was E3. They announced Fallout 4 at E3, and they said, yeah, by the way, that game's coming out in like 4 or 5 months. You're going to have it in your house, be able to play it in about 5 months, in November. Boom, it came out just like that. Everybody was like, holy shit, like it actually happened. No delays, no nothing. It was put out there. Granted, like any Bethesda game, had all those bugs, but it was still for the most part playable and very enjoyable and very well crafted. Enter cases that happened twice this year with, you see it before you hear, The Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 15, which came out literally about a week apart from each other. Last Guardian just came out, and then a week prior we had Final Fantasy 15. Two games that were literally in production for the past decade almost. I believe Final Fantasy 15 was announced in 2006, and then Last Guardian was like 2007, 2008-ish. I might be wrong about that. Just came out. And both games aren't exactly getting terrible reviews, but they've been getting just good or so-so reviews. From so-so to pretty good, but not great. And for a lot of people, believe it or not, that is still considered a disappointment, because for the amount of time it took to make these games, them not being considered Game of the Year contending games or getting like glowing reviews where it's getting like 10s and 9s left and right is automatically a disappointment. It's automatically a loss. Are these games good or great? I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people think that Final Fantasy 15 is fantastic and are considered Game of the Year for those people, as well as The Last Guardian, but it's all subjective, obviously, at this point. And I'm not saying that that's what I think about those games, because I haven't played either one of them. But when the majority of the masses are saying, the grand masses are saying, this game is good or great, but does it warrant waiting 10 years for this thing to come out? At what point should developers just say, okay, you know what, if you don't think that you're gonna create this game on time, just don't even bother telling people about it. Don't get their hopes up only to say, oh, delayed. Oh, delayed again. Oh, delayed again. Like, how many times? It's becoming a bit of a parody of itself that, why are we really wasting our breath? And me personally, seeing this type of case be repeated over and over, all the games that have been announced this year that don't have a timestamp at the end of it, just recently, Last of Us 2, and over the summer with E3 and Gamescom and PSX just happened, but plenty of other conventions where they unveiled stuff like God of War, Spider-Man, all these other games that are coming very, very soon, but we don't have a definitive date. I'm like, that looks awesome. 2018, 2019, most likely. Guaranteed. The more I think about it, the more I do start to agree more with Mr. Moriarty that more developers, more companies should keep things airtight, at least as much as possible, because things are going to leak here and there. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to take a picture of you working on the game on the bus, just like it happened recently with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's going to happen. But what a company can do is at least just save face, don't pay attention to it, just focus all of your attention and all of your energy at creating this property, making sure it's polished, making sure it's good, and not actually officially announce it and acknowledge that it's real until you're almost ready to ship the damn thing. And we'll go ahead and do what Bethesda did with Fallout 4, because that would be pretty awesome. Like saying, oh man, this game's coming out. Oh, by the way, it's coming out this year, this holiday season. There's a certain psychological thing happening where we're like, it's only 4 or 5 months away. Awesome. My hype is through the roof. Whereas games that were announced this year like God of War and Spider-Man and more recently Last of Us 2, it's cool to see that. But now my excitement has literally been shelved in the library of my mind, and it's now going to collect dust until my hype is ready to reach its full gauge for me to go, okay, now at this proper moment I should be excited, because I'm not going to be seeing this for the foreseeable future. And I know that there's that common philosophy that delays are not exactly a bad thing for a video game, but there's a certain level of relativity there. Sometimes delays can be a great thing for a video game, especially when it demands more polish, it demands more attention to fix all these bugs, because at the time of the game's initial release, it was a broken mess. So like, nope, we gotta fix this. But there's a difference between delaying it for 2 or 3 months and delaying it just 2 or 3 times and then releasing it. And then Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 15 that take years upon years. The exceptions where delays were a great thing was The Last of Us, which was delayed I think only like once, and it was only for like a month, and boom, it was out. Grand Theft Auto 5 I think was delayed about a season, like 4 or 5 months, from the spring 2013 release to like a September 2013 release. And sure, the online component was still a little messy, but the single player, which was the main thing that we were all focused on, was amazing. It was one of the highlights of the year. So it really is a case-by-case basis, where it's a level of relativity between delaying the game a few months to delaying it years, to where at some point I wouldn't blame a development company saying, you know what, we're done, we're giving up on this thing. Because nothing would make me sadder than knowing that a development company would go into crunch time. And if you guys know anything about the video game industry, is that when they go into crunch, that's when they're sleeping under their desks, they're not seeing their family for a good while, and they're spending hundreds of hours a week trying to get this thing made and making sure that it's great. And it's saddening. What I was trying to say is that it's saddening when they go into that crunch time, they put in all those hours, they go through through all that hard work, sweat, and tears, and then the end result is a game that's just good, but it's not amazing, doesn't blow our minds, doesn't make Game of the Year by the end of the year for a lot of outlets, a lot of websites. This is all a psychological game for both players and developers alike, and certain companies need to know when something is right and wrong, so that hopefully we can fill the slot of the entire year with amazing games, rather than just 2, 3, 4 amazing games and then everything else is kind of like eh, especially when some of those games are highly anticipated ones that have been cooking for almost a decade, like Final Fantasy 15 and The Last Guardian. So enough about me rambling. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this sort of thing happening with games delayed, and they finally come out only for them to either be shit or they're good, but that expectation is just, that level of expectation from the masses is just so high that even if the game is just good, it's automatically considered a disappointment. And when do you think a team should recognize that and be like, okay, we need to start from scratch with a brand new IP, something different, something new, something refreshing that we can hopefully sink our teeth into, or go into crunch time where the team has all of their best strengths and best attributes at the top of their game so that they can develop that type of property that's going to be making the Game of the Year rounds by the end of the year. What do you guys think? Please sound off in the comments, because I feel like as gamers we should all talk about this sort of thing, because we are the ones spending that $60 a piece for this type of thing. And I think that the development companies should recognize that, because I'm not necessarily saying that we should create some kind of revolt, like we should rebel, we should form a strike, but it's definitely a topic that I think should be discussed. So please let me know in the comments, like and share this video, subscribe for future topic videos such as this, revolving around video games, TV shows, movies, etc. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.